We're going to talk about one of the processes that we do during spiritual healing. And first, it's important to understand that a lot of the conditions that we think about as large, overarching conditions, like a depression, like an anxiety, are actually composed of many different blockages, many knots within the system where energy has become stuck, coagulated. These are often known as sanskaras in the Indian context. And we experience all these conditions as this one big depressive cloud coming down, this one anxious mood. But it's actually the interaction of these different blockages coming together and playing off of each other and taking turns that creates a cycle, a depressive cycle, as you shift back between different moods that perpetuate the condition. And also, another important concept is that of core blockages. So in your experience of something like depression, certain blockages will have an outsized effect relative to others. These are the ones that you actually notice. When they come up, you'll recognize them. You'll recognize that mood. You'll recognize that feeling. These are the ones that have a huge effect. Now, to get to these core blockages, we have to go around and clean out the entire area of interlacing smaller blockages. And when these come out, you'll feel them come to the surface and dissolve, but in your day-to-day life, you're not going to notice these as much because they're less present in your experience. They're still holding those core blockages in place, but they're not the dominant factors in your condition. They're not the dominant notes of that depressive melody. And these have accumulated over numerous past lives. There's so many of them that they could not have possibly all been taken on in this life. So it may be a factor tangential to the main depressive feeling, may have occurred from a death, a tragedy, loss of a loved one in a previous life. It's still anchoring those core aspects of the depression in place, and we have to go one by one in order to remove them so we can get to those core blockages. And when we get to the core blockage and remove that one, you're going to recognize that feeling coming out in all its intensity. And after that part of the depression, that one mood of the depression, for example, will be gone. The rest of the depression will still be there, but a major aspect of it, like a fifth of it or a fourth of it perhaps, will be gone. And then we'll move on from there, getting rid of more small blockages, working towards the next core blockage, eventually alleviating the entire condition. So, in a more technical viewpoint, how can we think of this process working? Well, the first thing is that we need to select the blockage that we're going to work on. And this process is done by my spirit. It's identifying the blockage, but we can think in terms of how it may be doing this in terms of the key considerations that are important. So one is that above all costs, we don't want to physically cause any harm or destabilize you. We wouldn't want a Kundalini blast, going off, overcharging the nerves. You're not able to sleep for days, weeks, maybe more. I had this kind of experience. I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody else. So that's why when choosing the blockage to work on, we have to be very careful to pick one that is in a certain order within the framework. So there aren't too many other blockages interdependent on it. It's not going to cause instability. It's not going to cause a rupture. It's not going to open the floodgates for surges of energy. None of that. So that's number one. The second most important consideration is avoiding any possibility, any risk of mental instability. Because all of these impressions and sanskaras, they influence your emotions, and those influence your thinking. So we wouldn't want to remove a sanskara that would cause a whole block of other sanskaras to come off too quickly. That would lead to a change in thinking that's too abrupt and just shift your mental frame of reference too quickly. That could cause mental instability. We wouldn't want to have any risk of that happening whatsoever. And then the third area of consideration, after we've avoided those risks that we really wouldn't want to get into, is the benefit. So we need to think about which area we're working on first, which blockage we're moving on next, which one will lead to the maximum benefit, given we've eliminated the possibilities of risk. And to do that, my spirit will analyze and also use its own experience and its subjective judgment as to the probable paths that you might take in your life, whether that might be having children, moving, diseases that you may or may not get, all the decisions, all the possibilities, the different paths you might go down depending on your thinking and how your thinking might change, also depending on this healing and also depending on which blockages are removed. We want to choose the path that will give you the most benefit you could think of it as a weighted average of the different decisions that you might make, the different paths you might go down. And that's how we hone in on where we're going to work first, because we're removing one blockage at a time. So there's a strategy, there's a game plan. We're not just shooting in the dark. We're picking a certain path, maybe picking a small blockage here, aiming to get to a core blockage down the line over there, and then we have to think about what the benefit of that particular core blockage is going to be in terms of this holistic process. Where do we go from there? Are we eliminating one disease? Are we eliminating some of the physical disease, some of the mental disease? Are we eliminating some sanskaras that can actually be killing two birds with one stone, helping you physically and mentally at the same time? So now you can see here that we view these blockages as a network. They're not just independent. They play off each other. They're interlinked. Small blockages surround larger blockages. And those networks of larger blockages are nodes that are dependent on each other and sequence with each other in different emotional patterns in your life, in different loops in your life, sanskaric patterns that are playing out in your life. So here we've identified our next blockage. Our game plan is to work toward that core blockage. One thing I also illustrate here is that all these blockages, they have different feels to them. They have different shapes. They have different sizes. They cover different areas. They're geographically located in different places in our body. Some may feel more circular with sharp edges. Some may feel more elongated or even L-shaped with more jagged edges. Some may be a bit hazy. Some may be more confined. Some may be a little bit fuzzy around the edges. And we feel that, and I feel that as we work on these together. And it's very important to note, and this influences how we do this as a practice and as a system, and how it's different. It's very important to note that this is a joint effort. It's not just me doing the work. It's not just my spirit doing the work. It's all three of us doing the work And this is why it's so important to have your attention and to build your focus and concentration together as we do this process. Here's how it works. My spirit has identified the blockage that we're going to work on, and it surrounds that blockage in a container within your subtle body, in your field. And this allows us to focus on the blockage. It highlights it, it surfaces it, it brings it to my attention, it brings it to your attention. You'll be able to feel the blockage that we are working on, we collectively are working on. This container is going to serve to cut off the signals that that blockage is sending to your brain. And when we do that, the energy from that blockage, instead of going outward, going into your brain, now that it's activated, that energy is going to turn back in on itself. Now, if you're able to focus and kind of shut down your mind a little bit, come away from your thoughts, it's going to enable this. It's not going to give a chance for that blockage to express itself and to let its energy leave toward your brain. You're going to keep the energy within the blockage. Almost like the walls of a microwave are keeping those energetic waves of energy within the microwave and cooking the food. So we have the energy of the blockage cooking itself. At the same time, to the extent you're able to focus your attention on the blockage rather than your thoughts, your attention will create further energy driving into the blockage. Additionally, we have my energy, which emits from my hands, my fingertips, my head. That energy will flow into you, it will permeate you, and it will also charge the blockage. And thirdly, we have my spirit as well, sending energy into the blockage. So with all three of us working together, we are heating up that blockage, and it will evaporate, dissolve, it will burn, and it will be eliminated during our session. And if we are, depending on the blockages, depending on how effectively we're progressing, depending on your attention, we often eliminate multiple blockages in a single session. So that is a little bit about how the process works. I know it's very opaque, and that's why I've tried to provide more clarity and to give some visuals on this so you can have the insight and really understand what we're doing, because the more that you understand, the more you're going to be motivated to use the techniques that I'm going to show you to distance yourself from the thoughts, refine your attention, and be able to focus and work together in these sessions to be as effective as we can to heal you and get you better as fast as possible. And remember, I don't see this just about healing one physical condition now. I see this as a process that's going to benefit you for the rest of your life, not just spiritually, but also not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually as well.